Welcome to the presentation on Chapter 18, The 6 Conditions of Empowerment by Stephen Covey. This presentation is in accordance with the requirements for EDUC 6013 Leadership and Ethics course of the EDD program of Southeastern University. As we continue the review of the Stephen Covey's book, The Principle-Centered Leadership, the author addresses 6 conditions that are needed for empowerment. He suggests that in order for empowerment to have the impact that we desire, that managers must first rid themselves of current, incorrect ways of thinking and find what I call the sweet spot. That is the place where organizational needs and goals overlap with the individual's needs, goals, and capabilities. It is not always easy to find, but once located, it creates a wonderful win-win situation for all involved. The author begins describing the 6 necessary conditions of empowerment with conditions 3 through 6. Then he discusses the first 2 conditions. So we begin by taking a look at the following conditions. We will begin our review by looking at the win-win agreement, then self-supervision, helpful structures and systems, and then accountability. Once those are reviewed, then we will look at skills and character. The author says that each of these conditions is necessary for empowerment to take place. So let's look at the first one he discusses. The win-win agreement. Win-win agreements are an interesting concept that are not always articulated when leaders are considering how to empower their employees. This concept has 5 parts that should be considered. The first one is specify desired results. Discuss what results are expected of the employee. Be specific about quality and quantity. Set budgets and schedules and timelines. So many times employees are not empowered because managers and our leaders aren't specific with what they are looking for from the employee, which can become frustrating to both parties. Set some guidelines. Communicate the principles, the policies, the procedures that are considered essential to achieving the desired results. Most times, employees want to do what their managers are desiring them to do. However, there are no guidelines set, and most times they spend a lot of times spinning their wheels instead of being productive because guidelines aren't presented. Thirdly, in a win-win agreement, we've got to be able to identify and articulate the available resources. Make known to the employee the various financial, human, technical, and/or organizational resources available to them to accomplish the desired results. Again, many employees really desire to give the leader what is needed, but they don't know all of the tools that they have available. And so they spend time trying to identify them for themselves, when if they were identified up front, they would be more successful. Fourth, define accountability. Hold people accountable or responsible. When individuals begin to lose sense of responsibility, then they begin to blame others and blame the circumstances for the current situation that they are in, and they do not take responsibility. For example, if you have outlined the desired results, you have given guidelines, you've told the employee what resources are available, but you don't define accountability, then they're going to say, oh, well, this person, this particular department was not able to give me what I needed, or I just ran out of time. But when we when we define accountability to a process, it allows the employee to realize that they must take responsibility or be accountable for the outcome and not blame others or circumstances. And the fifth component to this win-win agreement is determine the consequences. Between the employee and the leader, or the employee and the manager, we've got to be able to reach an understanding of what will happen if the results aren't met. And it doesn't have to be anything drastic like they will lose their job, but it has to be some determination of what will happen if the desired results are not adhered to. And so that's that's number 3, but part 1 of the 6 conditions of empowerment. And the second one that Stephen Covey covered is self-supervision. When an individual has come to a consensus with the win-win agreement, when they agree with all of the parts of that win-win agreement, then they can move to self-supervision. What is self-supervision? It's a combination of controlling, planning, and doing. The principle here recognizes that individuals are capable of self-direction and self-control and can govern themselves to do whatever is necessary within the guidelines to achieve the desired results, which simply means that in order to empower someone, we've got to give them the flexibility to self-supervise, meaning as long as you've set the win-win agreement in order, then we determine that they are capable of following through on their own. The next condition Stephen Covey covers is helpful structures and systems. And this one is a really big portion of it. In order to maximize the full benefit of empowerment, every system within an organization must be integrated and working together. If not, they work against each other and they create win-lose agreements. So, for example, if we desire to have employees process efficiently on a particular timeline, however, there are way too many inefficient systems in place, then a win-win agreement is almost null and void because they won't have the structures and the systems in place that help them to achieve what they are desiring to achieve. The next area is accountability. And Stephen Covey says here that evaluations and appraisals are helpful and needed in order to evaluate where an individual is currently in order for them to have guidelines for accountability. Where are you now? What is the next step? We've got to ensure that accountability is in place in order for empowerment to be recognized as efficient and effective. Now Stephen Covey goes back. So of course we look at the 6 conditions that he outlines. We addressed additions 3 through 6, and now he goes back and he addresses conditions 1 and 2. And they are skill and character. These 2 conditions actually begin the cycle, and skills are defined as what a person can do. Character is defined as what a person is. And these principles actually lay the foundation of trust, which the other conditions are built on. And it is so true that when we have skills and character in place, then the other 4 conditions actually naturally flow and operate efficiently and effectively together to make empowerment an actuality. Skills are necessary to foster great functioning of this win-win agreement. The author notes that the following skills are crucial in empowerment: communication, planning and organization, and synergistic problem solving. No one can trust an agreement where all the details have not been communicated, where planning and organization has not gone into place, and where there's not an outcome using synergistic problem solving. When we look at the character component, it is necessary in an empowerment situation that the individual has the characteristic of integrity, maturity, and the abundance mentality. And for me, the biggest one of the characters is definitely an abundance mentality, because empowerment is something where you give an individual sort of kind of the authority and the right. But if they don't have that abundance mentality, then they will not begin to communicate effectively, because they begin to hoard all of the tools and parts of a process that are necessary for everyone to be successful. And empowerment, I believe, is best seated or given to someone who has an abundance mentality. There is enough for everyone to do. And so we don't need to hoard and be protective of our little circle and sphere. The 6 conditions of empowerment are so interwoven that if one segment is out of sync, then the entire process is out of balance. And I've also come to believe that whatever view we have of people is self-fulfilling. That is, we will produce the evidence to support our view. And in empowerment, if we don't believe that people are trustworthy, or if we don't believe that people are capable and are actually possess the skill and character to be empowered, then it is self-fulfilling that as they go through the process, then we will find evidence to fulfill and support our view. And my challenge, as is always, is as leaders in our spheres of influence, let's ensure that the 6 conditions of empowerment are present in our leadership structures and our leadership processes. We don't want to be operating hoping we are leading well, but let's be doers of the information we have been presented. I hope that this information has been helpful. Thank you very much and have a great day.